A long range shot from a Nelson.
He's got it!
Oh, what a catch! He got a catch! And Nelson has nailed it!
Oh, man, a ball!
What a talent! He dragged him!
He was a weak-gutted dog as a kid, and he hasn't changed now. A weak-gutted dog person now.
He's got it! He's got it! Wilson's got a hat-trick on his birthday! Here's Aloisi replacing the World Cup.
G'day everyone, welcome back to the newest episode of the Australian Sporting Cartel podcast. It's 2025. Pepsi
It is.
Jesus, how good is it?
Mate,
Unbelievable.
it's been a nice little break.
What'd you get up to over the holiday period?
I watched about as much cricket as one human can consume.
I don't think that's... Is it impossible to consume enough cricket? Especially throughout November to February.
Well,
wow.
I mean, I watched every Big Bash game. I watched every test. I even watched some of the South African Pakistan series at night.
When in Rome, if it's
Yeah.
there, if you've
Yeah,
got
man.
if you've got the if you got cable, you got Fox. If you got Fox KO, it's there. Fuck it. I've even been watching European cricket. Great competition. Great, the talent there, unbelievable. They are just brilliant. I reckon I could probably get a role in one of those sides. Maybe.
Yeah, I've always wondered what would the qualification be to, head over to say Denmark and say, listen, look, I'm an Australian immigrant, but I played state cricket. I'm not too shabby.
I can bowl for you. Good off spin.
Yeah, I won't take maximum contract, but I'll roll the offies over. Good solid middle order batsman.
Look at that.
Have at it.
You get to play in a team on TV and you get Danish citizenship. So that's a win-win.
And look, let's be real. How fit are Scandinavian women? So
Fuck.
I
I
think
can tell
it's
you from experience, from going to Scandinavia to see family. Yeah, unbelievable. That's like UCL talent.
It's a win-win.
Attractiveness. It's a win-win. Anyway,
Win-win.
yeah, it's been an absolute roller coaster. The BBL final is tonight. Hobart Hurricanes taking on the Sydney Thunder. What a tournament it has been.
Proud Cade fan here.
Oh, we're both on the train right now. We're on the spiritual equivalent, the sports spiritual equivalent of the Gone. We're going straight to the fucking final, and it's been a great season. Honestly, this year, you can sum it up. The way I'm going to sum it up, in the fielding, the catches, the amount of classic.
There's
catches
been a lot
we've
of classic
seen.
ones. Yeah,
It feels like I'm in 2008 and I'm texting them to texting 3, 2, 1.
Yeah.
Michael Hussey and the slips. Do you remember that? You remember the KFC classic catch?
KFC classic catches.
So good. And seasonal attendance. This has been one of the most productive seasons from attendance in the BBL history, which is incredible.
love to see it.
You love to see it. I think more people are starting to get back into the BBL, and I'm not sure if that's the influence of someone like Sam Constas.
Definitely. He's been
Probably has to be.
probably the guy of the summer, for sure. Came out of nowhere. I mean, most cricketing fans or cricket nerds knew of him because of his Shield form, but he played one Big Bash game, he goes into the Australian Test team, and the abuse that he put forward to
my
Jasprit
God.
Bumrah. The best bowler on the planet.
I can't wait to get into the BGT series with you. What a series. Seriously. I mean, honestly, the fourth test is one of the best test matches I have ever seen in cricket.
Yep. If IMDb went back to through history and rated every test match that's ever been played, that one is
That's like Shawshank.
right up there. Right up there.
Godfather.
I mean, it had everything in it.
Yeah. I mean, in what test match are you ever going to see again where a 19-year-old comes in on his debut against the best bowler in the world and ramps him 3 times in 1 over?
And then dances down the pitch and pulls it for 6. I mean, what is this?
It's the size of his giant robotic magnetic nuts.
I can imagine Bill Laurie, who, is obviously a Victorian, just sitting there and his hair's getting wider and wider. This isn't test cricket. This isn't what you're supposed to do. He does not give a fuck.
No,
And
it's
do you know
so
what?
good.
We will cover this, I think, in an episode of its own. But the thing that I was the most proud of is up until that point, the Indians had the better of us in the series. It was 1-1 with a draw, but psychologically, we couldn't bat. We were in shambles. We were always playing catch up. Sam Constas coming out and doing what he did there, it rattled them psychologically. I mean, Virat Kohli's always been a twat, but he had to resort to, sandpaper gestures and shouldering a teenager. Like, what a fucking hero. Like,
You could see how much it was rattling him. Like, Virat is meant to be this guy. He's the guy in the Indian team. He's the shit stirrer. He's the stoic bloke who's like, I don't let anyone. I'm the man on this pitch. There's fucking 22 other players around, but I'm that guy. And Sam Constance just takes one look at him. He looks up and down and just goes, You ain't that guy.
Mate,
You're not that guy.
Kohli never has and never was Sachin Tendulkar. He can fuck off.
Sachin Tendulkar forever, Kohli never.
But
100%.
He psychologically broke them down, and then we were on the back foot, and Gary Lyon and Scott Boland, day 4. Day 5, whatever.
And then day 5, I think that's when they started shredding.
The last session, all the wickets they took, their batting, the ninth wicket partnership.
The mystery Snicko.
Yeah.
That clearly deviated off the glove, had old fucking Gavaskar. It's an optical illusion. What the fuck are you talking about? The ball moved. It's a deviation.
The ball moved.
Ghost of Bogle coming out there.
But no, it's been such a great summer of cricket, and obviously we got the Big Bash final tonight. We're Hurricanes fans. Playing the Thunder. If you'd have said to me at the start of the Big Bash, hey, the final's going to be between the Hobart Hurricanes and the Thunder at Bellerive Oval,
you'd laugh.
I'd be like, oh, okay, can't wait to see how this plays out. Especially after the first game against the Renegades. They got rolled.
This is classic. This is Kane fan talking, but before the season, I was adamant that it was our year. I was adamant that we've developed a squad that is capable of producing in multiple facets. So you've got really good openers, consistent, obviously experienced openers. Mix that with a bit of a renegade middle order, Tim David. You never know what he's going to do, and obviously lined
Power
up
Surge Jesus,
the best Power Surge player in Big Bash history. I'm saying that right there, 100%. And then, of course, you've got a really dangerous bowling lineup. You've got Hatsoglu.
Billy Stanlake returned to form significantly. He took a lot of wickets. He was somewhat economical.
It is a shame he's out.
Complemented Ellis and Meredith very well. And that was the missing
Nathan
piece
Ellis,
last year. No, it was great to see. And obviously the emergence of the lumberjack, Mitch Owen. I mean, this guy was born with a plank of wood in his hand, whether it was a piece of English willow or a fucking axe. This guy has just been an animal from day one. And one of the things that I really, really like about him is he's a very special breed of cricketer in that his appetite to hit the ball hard and he doesn't block, he just hits.
He's a very proactive
It's Chris Gayle-esque.
Yeah.
It's Shahid Afridi-esque, where it's only attacking. I'll let the other 10 people try and block and play runs. I want to score quickly.
But he's got this almost aura or element of Jacques Callis to him. How many times do you see an opening batsman bowl serious pace, throwing it down at 130 plus and being an opening batsman? He's a fucking machine.
I mean, it's one thing to do it in T20 cricket.
Well, I mean, he's not. He's only like 24.
Does he get into the IPL this year as like an unsigned free agent?
I think so. I think what he's done has warranted someone to come along and use him as a potential wild card, because I think he's that sort of excitement machine. He's someone that can provide outstanding entertainment and fluidity with his batting and bowling to the IPL. I think his personality matches that league.
And it didn't look like he had any weakness on spin when he faced it. No. Like he hit the ball, like he hit sixes with spin. He played spin. He didn't face it much in the power play.
Yeah.
But like this was always the biggest knock on Chris Lynn. Lynn Sanity, Chris Lynn no spin. He's a pace guy.
Yeah.
He doesn't really play spin well.
It's when you've got a body like that and you've got forearms like that,
Mitch Owen, man. The ball. I'm gonna be watching with bated breath to see if he gets into the IPL.
I'd like to see him I'd like to see him play a bit more List A. I'd like to see him play a little bit more Shield, just so I can see what he's like as a longer format player, because I think he's got potential. He debuted in the COVID season 2020, 2021, only played a handful of games. Wasn't really that good. And I don't remember what he got in his first game this year, but I don't believe it was convincing then
the century against Perth.
That was the second. Was that his first game?
No. So the first game was against the Renegades.
I'm not sure what he got.
I think I mean, we didn't score much.
No. No.
In fact, we've had games with power plays this year that outscored the first game against the Renegades.
Yeah, exactly.
So, he might have got a 10 or something, but it was the century against Perth.
It set his season, honestly.
Yeah.
And what I think is so important to mention is his strike rate within the first 4 overs of the game, setting the match up. He was hitting at over 150 throughout the first 4.5 overs. And it's just not looking back. In taking on, not just like, these aren't just casual bowlers. He's taken on world-class bowlers. Berendorf, Richardson.
International bowlers.
So he's been outstanding, and obviously will probably be in many people's team of the tournament. And that leads us into...
Good little segue.
It's a great little segue. I'm glad we brought that up.
So how do you want to do this? Do you want to position for position?
I think position for position, one for one.
All right.
I think we do it. I firmly believe that we will have many of the same. However, it's good to...
We will. I reckon we're going to have 7 or 8 the same. I reckon there'll be a few...
But obviously, it'll be a generalization thing. When we do mention them, we will talk about any others that we could have mentioned, but we'll discuss it between each other.
Yeah.
Instead of just blurting out the names, because you need to have your statistical analysis behind it. Otherwise, it's not a podcast.
I'm going to start. So my openers.
Let's go.
Mitch Owen, David Warner.
Bang on. I got them both as well. So there's no spoilers on that one.
I mean, it's pretty obvious. Like,
yeah.
If you were to look at any of the other opening batsmen that were in the Big Bash this year, Matt Short's century against the Brisbane Heat was phenomenal, but he missed a lot through injury. Chris Lynn, Darcy Short, they rotated, if not a few others, open for Adelaide, so they didn't have a set pair, and they're usually pretty big run scorers.
Yeah.
Finn Allen was very exciting to watch, but he either got very little or he got a start and got out.
It was the first 4 or 5 games, maybe 4 or 5 games, he just didn't, he wasn't picking the pace up. And then I think he started to get into his stride when it was already too late for Perth. So,
And then, Sam Constas didn't play a full tournament, played 2 or 3 games.
He played 2 games. I think he got
Steve
250s.
Smith played
2 games.
batted twice.
I think he was hitting it 170. Unbelievable.
He nearly made my team in the tournament, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. He comes in 2 or 3 games of the season, and he warrants a spot within this list. So
that game against Perth on the Saturday afternoon, that was
porn.
That was so good to watch.
Disgusting.
And that catch that was a 6, and then he walks back to the crease
I get to bat a little bit more.
Yeah.
How good? It's Christmas.
Every fan of cricket was going hard on that,
Just when you're sitting there and you're going up against Berendorf and you're stepping maybe 6-7 centimeters away from leg stump, and you are essentially slogging over cover for 6 or to backward point for 6. Fuck. I know it's cliche to say, but there aren't many other batters in the world that could probably do that. And that's why Steve Smith has been such an outstanding multi-format player. And a lot of people were like, he's past it. Obviously, he's not in the same form. This is child's play. He walks in and
we'll see what happens in Sri Lanka, won't we?
Yeah. we
Tough
are
conditions.
going to see the man hit the 10K.
Yes. And I
cannot wait.
He so deserved to get it at Sydney.
He's got to hit it with a 6. I know.
It's unfortunate he couldn't do it at Sydney.
Do you think there was a bit of pressure? Do you think it was maybe the yips that got to him, or was it just a lapse in concentration? Because I don't know if you're focusing. He's not looking up the scoreboard. It's a bit like now.
When his career's over in 20 years from now, it's not the same. But it's Bradman with the duck in the last innings. He just needed 4 runs to average 100.
Yeah.
Smith, 10,000th run. He got a duck.
Imagine if he was retiring at the end of that test. Can you imagine? What if he made his decision prior to the game and was like, I'm going to be retiring no matter what. Gets out on 999. Do you think he keeps going? Does he go, all right, Sri Lanka, maybe 1? Well, I guess it's up to
I think
Bailey in the selection.
What I would do is I would leave it until the Ashes, the 5th test. And if someone's out of form or if there's an injury or there's COVID, Steve Smith comes in for one final test in
Langer.
Sydney.
The Alfie Langer. Come back into Origin. Yes.
100%. You got some young 20-year-old. Great, he's got 15 years of career. Fuck off. Give the best ever his moment.
Where is he?
Yeah.
Get Smudge. Get his 10,000.
Not about you.
Deserves it.
Fuck off.
Yeah. That's cricket.
Before we go through the rest of our team, and I just want to I don't want you to think too long or hard about this, but does Steve Smith get his own pavilion or stand at the SCG? When it's all said and done.
It would be disgraceful to say no. With all due respect to everyone that hasn't got a statue out there, Steve
I'm not talking about statue. I'm saying stand pavilion in the ground.
Okay. Yes.
So like the Steve Smith end, the Steve Smith
I'm
stand,
happy.
the Steve Smith pavilion.
I'm happy.
Does he get one?
At the SCG, yes. I think he does. There's a lot of players you could put into consideration. Michael Clark. Other players from New South Wales and Sydney that have made their mark on the game. But Steve Smith stands head and shoulders above everyone from what he's done, his influence in the game, not just at statistics and numbers, but his legacy as a person and what he's done. Where he came, where he started. He started out as the next Shane Warne. He was a batter. He was a 7 batter. He bowled leg spin. And he turned into one of the best batters of all time. So I think, without a doubt in my mind, at some point, he does get a stand or something named after him at the SCG, which I think would be fitting.
Fair.
There you go.
Love it.
Love
All
you,
right.
love you, Smudge.
So, my number 3.
Coming in at 3.
Cooper Connolly.
I mean, who else are you going to...
Very consistent.
Who
Scored a lot of
else?
runs.
Yeah.
Got Perth, for a very disappointing Perth season, was a bright light.
He was the anchor. He was like, no matter what the scenario of the game was, no matter what the situation, he was always that anchor. Maybe he wasn't going at exactly the pace they needed to, but he would steady and he would consolidate, which I think is what Perth really failed to do. They struggled with consolidating around the 8 or 9 over mark. So Connolly was once a shining light in an otherwise pretty poor season.
Perth had a rubbish year comparison to...
Well, this is the first season Perth haven't made the finals since BBL 9, which is also coincidental because this BBL 9 was the last season the Stars made finals. So
Interesting.
Mix and match there.
Interesting. And they had to beat Hobart to get into the finals.
And they did. They did it.
So you had Connolly at 3?
I did, yes.
All right, so
yeah.
Moving to number 4, and to tie off that little factoid there, is the guy that, gave Melbourne the best shot at victory, the big show, Glenn Maxwell.
Yeah.
What a resurgence.
Oh, my God.
Melbourne lost the first 5 games. He played 1, maybe 2 of those. I think he missed the first 3, or was it 4?
I think he missed the first 3. I'm not sure. What was it? Was it hamstring or something? He had some injury.
It was a leg injury.
It was some leg injury, but yeah, he missed. I think it took him a while to get back into the rhythm of this team, and obviously there's a few new players, and he's testing some things out. But
I don't know. I don't know how the Melbourne Stars do things, but they've got on paper one of the best teams, but when they play,
pretty rubbish.
I mean, Tom Rogers, Joe Clark, Sam Harper, Dan Lawrence. All these guys Ben Duckett was awesome. I wish he could have stayed there for the whole tournament.
And that's unfortunate with the Big Bash.
Yeah.
You have your imports, and that they obviously did go and play in Dubai or whatever.
He's playing for England in their T20 series against India.
Well, there's other players do go back international. Some actually go to other tournaments.
Yeah, Jamie Overton.
Phil Salt. I actually don't think Salty was in the Big Bash this year.
I really like the Big Bash putting their foot down this year, saying, "Hey, no, you're not going to come for a couple of games and then fuck off to a Pakistan league. You're playing with us, or you're not playing."
And I think that's
where
the contract needs to be.
They tightened it there, and that was awesome to see because you'd get.
Well, that's the influence behind the crowds.
Yeah. No, 100%. So no, I actually not only is Maxwell my number 4, he might have just pipped Mitch Owen for my MVP.
Wow.
I think
that's unbelievable.
I mean, his catches.
Yeah.
When he had short innings, he still was impactful.
That catch against, was it the Heat? Where he jumps out.
Yeah.
There is no fucking way. By the laws of physics and gravity, you shouldn't be able to do that at that speed. And there are people out there going, that can't be that hard. Shut the fuck up. If you've ever tried anything like that, let alone just take a regular catch, it's not that fucking easy. What he did was superhuman. I will say it here, that is the best catch I have ever seen in the Big Bash. And I know there have been some screamers. That was the best catch I'd ever seen. So, yeah, Glenn Maxwell. I put Mitch Owen as my MVP, but Maxwell, easy second.
Yeah. So, like, with the eye test, and this is where I can't wait to compare, because I think with the point system, I couldn't tell you who it is. Mitch Owen would be up there. Maxwell would be up there.
Yeah, Connolly would be close.
Dave would be up there. Well, Connolly dropped off.
Statistically, Connolly, he did hit the most runs. And then, obviously, Warner.
He dropped off. Warner was in there, but Tom Rogers, Ben Dwarshuis,
Ben Dwarshuis is very high up.
Will Sutherland.
Yeah.
All these guys that consistently played well. Chris Green was someone who, like, had a couple of cameos with the bat, took a few threefers.
Even at the back end of the season, someone like Tanvir Sanger would have easily. Lloyd Pope at times. I know he got smacked around by the Thunder, but these are players that
He's had the most roller coaster Big
guy.
Bash.
He's had the most roller coaster fucking hairstyle. This guy. He started off as Pennywise, and now he's looking like a divorced 40-year-old from Dapto. Like that poor guy.
It was a bit like Bill Burr.
It was Bill Burr. Great. I love him. I love it though. I went with Stoinis, but the next one is Maxwell for me. So I went Stoinis and Maxi were my 3 and 4. My 4 and 5.
Really?
Stoinis, yeah.
Okay.
And the thing, and what I noticed about Stoinis was, once again, he always came in and consistently made a pretty good score. He never went out for a duck, didn't make it like, he always hit well and prepared Maxwell to come in. And that's why Stoinis for me does make it, because I couldn't really find anyone else in the tournament that I think had that impact.
I
that
do.
Stoinis did. Who did you put?
Tim David.
I put David one lower.
I put Tim at 5.
Yeah.
Because I've actually called an audible. I
Interesting.
said to you before we
Wow.
started, I don't have a specialist wicket keeper.
You did.
I've made
You
a
did.
made
Okay.
a so Marcus Stoinis is my 13th man this year.
Yeah.
Tim David at 5. I know he batted but sort of between 5 and 7, but with the rest of my team, he needed to bat in at 5. I actually, as a Hobart fan, some games I watch and I go, thank fuck we still have Tim David.
Yeah.
Like the amount of games where Mitch Owen would get us off to a fantastic start, and then Wakeham or Shy Hope were utterly useless.
Wakeham is going in my anti-team of the tournament.
Just,
that was
fuck off. Look, no offense to the guy, he is not a T20 player.
No.
He's a Shield player.
Yeah.
Cool. Maybe
Great
he
at
can play in the
Shield.
Marsh Cup.
Same with Sam Harper.
They're not
Big Bash player.
They're not Big Bash players. Shy Hope, Ben McDermott in at 4 when he was. We had Matty Wade in there a few games, but Tim David at 5, I think, for this team especially.
Yeah.
It's that argument of, do you want him to be as effective as possible, or do you want him to have as much time at the crease as possible?
Yeah. Well, the thing that annoyed me about what everyone was saying during the Big Bash was like, whenever Tim David comes in, bring him in during the power surge. I understand he was effective during the power surge, but I think he's just an effective middle order batsman. I think he's an effective slogger, mid-inning slogger. It's exactly what he did. And there are times when, you're right, he didn't look like he was in...
Won us the game against Adelaide the second time. Won us the game against the Thunder.
He did.
Won us the game against the Renegades the second time we played them.
And that's Tim David.
Just individual
there's
brilliance.
A reason he is a part of that Australian T20 team. He's not just there for cosmetic reasons. He's also bowls. He's a part-time offie.
Yeah.
He is
Marcus Stoinis lookalike as well.
He does. He's got the Chalamet chin as well. Like, he's got everything, this guy. Love you, Timmy. Tim David. They always say never trust a man with 2 first names. I would trust my life. He'd be my godfather.
If I needed someone to bat out a power surge with something on the line, he's the guy I'm putting in there.
So he's my 6. Right. So I've gone Stoinis, Maxwell, David.
David at 6.
Yeah. Who's your 6?
So my 6, and I'll share this with you now. My 6 was initially going to be Jamie Overton, but I've moved him to 12th man.
Interesting. Okay.
He was consistent, but he didn't play out the full tournament. He did a man cad, and he was just an all-round fuckwit.
Oh, he's a fuckhead. He's 100% fuckhead of the league.
And so I thought he was good enough to slot in there at that 6th spot, but as I was rattling through, I've decided, well, actually, no, there was a far better all-rounder this tournament than him anyways, who's my number 7.
Yep.
My number 6 and my wicket keeper is from the Brisbane Heat, and it's Max Bryant. He had 3 half-centuries.
Yeah.
He was a guy that if he had had a team around him, like, so the way I look at the Brisbane Heat this year is the reigning champions who didn't make the finals.
Very underwhelming.
Jimmy Pearson had a couple of innings.
Yeah.
But I call them the power play killers. If you don't come out and you don't set the tone properly and put enough runs on the board, your lower batsmen have unnecessary
Way too much
pressure.
work to do. Yeah.
With Michael Neser being injured and them not really having their first 11 always there, whoever opened the batting needed to make sure they scored a lot of runs. And the amount of games where particularly Jimmy Pearson, he chewed up a lot of balls, he killed the power play, he took up all the balls where there was fuck all fielders, and then gets out so that when Renshaw would come to the crease, he'd have to be overly aggressive. By the time Max Bryant got to the crease, they were batting to stay in the game.
Yep.
And the amount of times he had innings that turned them competitive. In that Perth game on Boxing Day, I have no doubt in my mind that if they had Josh Brown or anyone that wasn't Jimmy Pearson opening the batting and Michael Neser was there to bat and have a partnership with him, they win that game.
top four.
They win that game,
Yeah.
no question. So
And that's 100% about that. That pretty much sums up Brisbane's season. They would lose from such a winning position. They would always find ways to fuck it.
they beat themselves more than the
They
opponents.
would, and it's funny because the Brisbane Heat, they have that bowling lineup. They have the best bowling lineup in the Big Bash. Spencer Johnson, Swepson, Neser, Bartlett, Kuhneman. Easy, all Australian one-day T20 format players. But you're right. There were times when during the power play or during the power surge, they didn't take advantage, and it was so indicative of the Heat this year. They would beat themselves at their own game. And finishing 7th, man, like, that's pretty... you'd be fucking pissed off if you're a Heat fan.
And I'll be the first to say that last season, I, like most of Australia, was captivated and had a little bit of tall Paul fever.
Oh, yeah.
He was
This
utterly
guy's
fucking
shithouse
useless.
this year. What happened? He was fucking
Utterly
gone.
useless.
One season wonder. He's gone Roque. He's gone Santa Cruz.
So, yeah, I just, but look...
But Max Bryant is a great
Max
shout.
Bryant was the best player for Brisbane this year. I know they had an elite bowling attack who took some wickets, and it is what it is. But when you just watch the play, the game against the Stars where he hit 72, I think, they ended up losing that game.
Yeah.
That was the first game that Melbourne started on their win
run.
cycle.
Yeah.
He came out, he was aggressive, and he was the baby bash brother for Lynn and McCullum back in the day,
He was always third. He was third string.
Yeah. So it was really good to see him. I hope he's someone. I'd like to see him, Renshaw, and McSweeney be the team that they're built around next year. I'd like to see him get in.
Yeah.
Jack Wood, go play your guitar, mate. Fuck off.
that's
You had one good innings, but it was too late. The season was over.
Allsop as well. Allsop did nothing.
Jimmy Pearson, if you don't bat at 9, I don't want to see you in the Big Bash.
Shot themselves in the foot from a logistic
If
position.
they could have got Tom Banton for the entire tournament, he would have been, because he's very exciting to watch.
Yeah. BBL 9, Tom Banton. You never forget that.
Yeah, no, 100%. So, so I didn't realize he went to I think it was the International T20 League.
He went to in Dubai.
So,
yeah.
Unfortunate, but yeah, look, Max Bryant's my 6 for that reason.
Fantastic,
And I'm going to give you my 7 as well, just to tie this together.
Yep.
I was going to initially put this guy at 8 and have Jamie Overton in there, but Will Sutherland,
Yeah.
last game of the season, bit of a brain explosion. But he's a young man, he'll come back. But
The game against the Renegades.
he did a lot with the bat. That game against Perth with him and Tom Rogers,
Against Perth, yeah.
where they were 4 for whatever.
4 for 10, and he comes out and wins them the game.
Him and Tom Rogers,
Him and
mate.
Tom Rogers.
Unreal.
Far out. Tom Rogers is another one. We'll get into that later. He could have been MVP.
Oh, 100%.
In a pretty underwhelming Renegade season. Fuck, man.
Yeah, and because you looked at their top 4, well, and even their 5, they had
Fraser McGurk, Tim Seifert.
Josh Brown
Brown.
who had 2 good innings, but
Brown and McGurk.
yeah, Laurie
dropped
Evans
off. Laurie
was in the
Evans.
middle order. Great acquisition. He was the first pick of the BBL draft too, by the way.
Oh, Laurie Evans is a gun, and we've seen that before from previous years.
He was
He's
huge
a
for Perth
fucking
last
beast.
year. So yeah, look, I think Will Sutherland had the most consistent tournament out of their supposed superstars.
I agree. Yeah. He's definitely.
And I actually think with a little bit more polish, the right coaching, I could easily see him playing Test cricket for Australia.
I'd love it.
Easily
'Cause
seen.
in the fray, you've got your Connolly, you got Aaron, you got Hardy,
Yeah.
but Will Sutherland, he's consistent at Shield level.
He's
like to see it.
And one of the things I've always loved about Test cricket is that you've got some like just absolute no-brainers. Wicket keeper always bats at 7.
Yeah.
There's occasionally they'll move up to 6 to accommodate, but the reason they were always put at 7 is because they were out keeping all the time. They're less batting have to do better.
Exactly. Yeah.
How many Test matches have we had this last cycle that have gone the full 5 days? I think it's been less than 20%.
I think so. Yeah.
Mate, I could easily see Australia bumping Carey to 6, and Will Sutherland comes in as a legit 7 who can legitimately bat.
Actually do
and
can
legitimately
provide with the
bowl.
ball.
Yeah.
Instead of because Bo Webster, he's getting a little bit
I
old
like
now.
Bo Webster.
Yeah.
But like
Will Sutherland is meant to be. I think he's built for Test cricket.
in the history of time, when you go back and you look at all of the Australian Test cricket records, Bo will play probably no more than 10 tests.
Yeah.
He might be there for the Ashes. We'll look at
He'll
him
get a
fondly
fuck-
and we'll go,
yeah.
you know what? He did in 25% of the games what Mitch Marsh couldn't do an entire career.
He's going to get a billboard
Yeah.
in snug.
Yeah,
That's his
100%.
legacy.
100%. Yeah,
Love
Will
him, though.
Sutherland for
Love his
7,
one.
man.
Yeah, no.
So he was my 7 for that and other
Yeah.
reasons.
And then you know what? The aura of Will Sutherland. Imagine him, 6'4",
yeah.
stone face. He's got that stone face.
Yeah.
Imagine him intimidating, Coley going up against, in the Ashes. Can you imagine that? I'd love that.
What'd you say, cunt?
Anyway, yeah.
Who's your 7?
So I am a traditionalist. I do go for my wicketkeeper, and in all, wicketkeepers this tournament have been very
Shocking.
underwhelming. Allsop was pretty garbage. Tim Seifert
Had
made
2 good
one
games and then
catch,
8 shit
and
ones.
it's just terrible. And you had it was a toss up for me because there's also Ollie Pope. Once again, an import, absolutely doing nothing. So it was a toss up for me between these two, and it was between Wade and Billings. The Hurricane in me wanted to go for Wade, but Wade was just a little bit too inconsistent this year. So I have gone for Sam Billings.
Yeah, not a bad shout.
He's in there. He pretty much won them the game against the Sixers in the Challenger. He was variably consistent. He did his job. He was very vocal. I like a vocal.
He doesn't
wicketkeeper.
shut up.
He doesn't shut the fuck up. He yaps and yaps and yaps. He gets in their head and it forces
Between
errors.
him and David Warner, no one else on the Thunder.
Fuck me.
The 9 other players on the field are mute.
Yeah, I mean, who else are you going to put the fucking mic on anyway? Seriously, but I've gone Sam Billings.
Good shout.
Because I do like putting in a wicketkeeper. So, well done, Sam. Good luck tonight.
No, look, anywhere from like sort of 5 through 8, you could have had Tim David, Tim Seifert, Sam Billings, Marcus Stoinis, Jamie Overton. Like you could have had any number of those people.
But I like your thinking about saying, all the wicketkeepers were relatively underwhelming, so I'm going to go for a specialist. Doesn't matter. It's your team.
Max Bryant has kept more games than people realise. And
I agree.
He's someone that I thought he had a great tournament individually in a shit team. So yeah, Sutherland 7. Now my number 8. I would have liked to have put him higher. And when I watch his team play, I want to see him bat higher.
Yep.
But in the Challenger, it's pretty clear that there's still a little bit of polish there, and that's
Benny D.
Ben Dwarshuis, the greatest mustache in the Big Bash.
What a bloke. Benny Dwarshuis.
The first game against the Thunder, that Chris Green full toss, and he put it.
Oh, he sent it.
Put a hole through the biosphere with that.
Parramatta. he sent that to Parramatta. Like that thing was gone. And against the Renegades, once again that first game, he just clapped it.
Yeah.
He's been working on his batting.
A lot of
in the
wickets,
off-season.
steady
Clearly.
batting, and when he came out and helped Smith, he was hitting.
Oh, he was smacking.
He was that game. Smith got 100, but him and Enriquez got the other runs, and I think he's been. I don't believe he will get the MVP, but he was in the money for a long time.
For maybe the first 6 games, 100%. I was like, why isn't he up there for MVP? Because it was not only the impact with the ball, it's sensational power play bowler, really economical. A lot of variation with his bowling as well. So he kept it tight, kept it consistent, and he always managed to fool opposition batsmen. He always managed to bowl the most pragmatic over. And that's what he did. But there was also the impact with the bat. those sixes he hit, his strike rate,
Very clean hitting.
very clean hitting, and that's someone. And from previous seasons, I hadn't seen that from Dorcius.
Yeah.
I hadn't seen that. I didn't know he was capable of this.
Well,
Fucking move him up, honestly.
Coming into this season, you're like, look, he's a handy batter. You know, if we needed
It's like,
to,
he can hit a six,
but no,
wow.
he actually like more often than he didn't this year. He came out and he hit very clean, very big shots.
Yeah,
And he took a lot of wickets.
he did.
You know, he took
He
took
did.
consistent wickets, and
Was it 13 or 14
yeah,
wickets or
he got up there. You know, Sydney had a bit of a weird one with their bowling. You know, they had Jackson Bird in a couple of games,
Perry had
Sean
to come
Abbott.
in. Sean Abbott.
Yeah.
The Sixers, unfortunately, look, I think Dorcius did save his worst game for last. Fortunately, he did get smacked around a bit. What are you going to do? You're losing 4 or 5 of your best players. You know, no Murphy, no Abbott, no Smith, no Hossain, no Vince. It's a
When
tough.
Jordan Silk is your best batter by a mile, you know you've got a shit team.
As Ricky Ponting says, every fucking day he's the best fielder in Australia. It doesn't matter if you're hitting 12 every
Doesn't
game,
matter
you're
when the
averaging
balls are getting
7.
hit 45 metres either side of him on the boundary or over his head.
Yeah.
But no, Benny
underwhelming.
Dorcius at my number 8. 8 for you as well?
8 for me, yeah.
Number 9, the same, Mr. Tom Rogers. Phenomenal.
Yeah. Easy. It's probably the easiest.
I actually think on paper, well, not on paper, but what I'm trying to say is I know I gave Sutherland a big rap, but I actually think Tom Rogers was the best Renegades player this season.
Oh, by far.
He took a lot of
wasn't even
wickets.
close. Yeah.
He scored
Relatively
substantial
good
runs.
scores, yeah.
And when they needed someone to turn up and show up, he did just that. He took a few wickets against Hobart in the first game. He battered out the game and won them the game against Perth. That one of the greatest games I've ever seen. Yeah, and just throughout the year, he was consistent with his wickets. At the time, when he got to the crease, he didn't waste balls. He ran well between wickets.
Yeah.
You know,
Good communication.
Phenomenal season.
Great consistency bowling wise. Like, yeah, honestly, this has easily been his best year.
Agreed.
And I think he's got so much to play in the next few years. I'm going to be watching him like a hawk come Shield time, come Marsh Cup. He's a gun. And I honestly thought he was incredibly mediocre. Sorry there, folks. Had to take a little short break. But we are back. And yeah, as I was saying with Tom Rogers, unbelievable. Easily his most influential season in the Big Bash, and easily fits in at number 9.
Yeah, no question.
No question about it. 10. Ooh, that's where it gets interesting. I'm going to go first with this one.
Yeah.
And he's your 12th man. You did touch on him. He did bat a little bit higher, but I have pushed him down because of Dorcius and Rogers. I've gone for Overton. Now,
At 10.
yeah. I know. That's the thing, because I had to put him in my team because within the strikers, he was easily their best player. Maybe Pope, but Pope got smacked around. But Overton consistently bowled exceptionally. He's a fuck
He was
stain of a
consistent
human.
in what he did. He was
Fuck stain,
He
but-
great cameos with the bat.
Yeah.
Took a lot of wickets. Was an absolute cockhead. He was consistent across the board.
When he got Smith out, who was in the best form in his life, he runs up to him, gives him a send off.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, dude, that's great. It's good that you got him out. That's fantastic. But don't fucking. This is Steve Smith.
Steve's just one of the greatest cricket players of all time. You're not even the best cricketer in your family.
Not even
your
the best
brother's,
Overton.
yeah, exactly.
Your brother played in the fucking Ashes. What have you done?
Yeah.
Dickhead. But yeah, I'm happy to put him at 10 because I think he warrants a spot.
I mean, on paper, you just like your team. If it's on paper, Rogers and Dwarcius move a spot down. He just comes in at 8. Like that's.
It's just the way it goes. And look, he did make an impact with the bat as well. He was actually quite decent.
Got a lot of 30s and a lot of 40s, and Adelaide didn't have the best season, but they were competitive because he came in, and he gave them enough runs with a target to bowl at, and fell short more often than not this year. But he definitely, I agree with you. He was their best player by
a mile,
substantially.
And I'm trying to keep as many teams in, as much inclusion as I can.
Yeah.
I'm trying to include them from most teams. I think I've included one person from every team. I could be wrong, but
well, if I'd have picked Overton, I'd have had him in, but because I binned him for Max Bryant. The only one you haven't picked is a Brisbane Heat player.
Yeah. And that leads you on to your number 10.
Yeah, so my number 10, there are a few names popped into my head, but once I looked at the stats and once I actually like looked at the games and stuff, it was really clear. There was only one person for me, and that was Mark Steckety for Melbourne Stars.
Yeah.
2 fifers, I think.
Was elite during their win streak.
Yeah.
He was the X factor.
I don't think he had a game where he took less than 3 wickets.
No, he was
And
fantastic.
I remember last year, Steckety got hit for a lot of runs. And so when I was getting ready to watch the game when he's returned, and they said, "Oh, and by the way, Mark Steckety's back," I was just like,
Oh, no.
Oh, here we go.
Here we go.
0 for 60.
Get the umbrella out. It's raining sixes.
Mate, he was the one that against the Thunder in the Eliminator, mate, he
stepped up.
he hit a few good sixes.
He could have been that guy, but when he got out, that was pretty obvious.
Everything he
It was
did,
over.
he tried. He tried to take wickets. He tried to Some players are just there to participate. You can tell they don't give a shit. They'll hit singles. They'll do whatever. He had a killer instinct, and if I'm picking a team of people that I want, I'm looking at people like him.
Yeah, he was my 12th man, by the way. I mean, it was between him and Overton.
Yeah.
I was tossing up, but since Overton played a little bit more, and he's from the strikers, I wanted to give some sustainability. with
He's a
my
whinging
lineup.
pom. He's a
I
cockhead,
know,
and he's
but he's got to go in. And Steckety,
poor man's Will Sutherland.
what a fucking turnaround, honestly.
No, it was great
What
to
a
see, man.
Great, he was fantastic. During their resurgence, when they won that 5 in a row, he was insane.
He
Economical.
was he
would
was
hit the ball.
he was equivalent with the ball as to what Maxwell was with the bat.
Agree.
And
100%.
The batters get all the flashiness, and I understand that. But if you like cricket and you watch cricket, you follow cricket. Mark Steckety was phenomenal this year. They fell short. I would have loved the Stars to knock the Thunder off. So it was Stars sixes.
Well, I thought initially when going into these finals, I looked at the squads and all I could think of was, I think the Stars are going to win the whole comp because the form they're in, Maxwell. It was mainly Maxwell. The team was gelling together. They're going up against teams who have lost a few players. Like I think Bo Webster was the only Test player that was taken out of the Stars squad. Well, the Sixers, they lost 4 or 5 players. The Thunder lost Constas and obviously Bancroft and Sam's.
But not only that,
injury.
mate, when everyone else fucked off to Sri Lanka, he played against Hobart. He got given space when he was in the Test squad. They allowed him to fly back
That's
for Big Bash games.
Fuck, they got to do that. I mean, it'd take a toll on you as a player, but
I loved it, but I don't understand why they did that for him and not Sean Abbott, for example. I don't know if it was because of the depth of squad that they couldn't have players. I'm sure it was a technical thing, but
maybe Webster knows he might not be getting a starting spot in that first Test. It might be alluding to the fact that he won't get a spot, so he's allowed to go back. But
I mean, we're going to cover this on another episode.
Yeah,
we need to
we will.
talk through the Warren Murulidharan Trophy.
Yes,
I think it's the Warren Murulidharan Trophy.
Is it?
When we play Sri Lanka?
I have no idea.
It should be. If it isn't, sort that out, Cricket Australia.
Who else would it be?
Jai Surya Gilchrist.
Oh, that's actually a great shout. Jai Surya or like Sangakkara Gilchrist, two of the greatest wicket keepers. My favourite wicket keepers, Sangakkara and Gilchrist.
Jai Warden of Ponting.
Oh, Ponting. Does Ponting have a name?
Shaminder Vas, Nathan Bracken. Like I'm throwing.
Oh, to quote Ben Kenobi, that is a name I have not heard in a long time. Nathan Bracken. He's a fucking politician now.
An accountant.
He's an accountant.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
He was very accountable
Yeah.
on the pitch.
Very mayonnaise.
When I see Nathan Bracken, I envision him in that fucking. Do you remember the Australian T20 kit back in 2009? It was like short sleeve.
Yeah.
Had like the yellow top. What's my top 5 cricket jersey of all time?
Nathan Bracken is what Will Sutherland's like when you're trying to print something out and it lags just a little bit, and so the image is slightly distorted in length. It's not to proportion.
Not to proportion. Yeah.
That's what Nathan Bracken
ratio.
is.
Yeah.
But no, it should be
great
the
stuff.
it should be the Warren Murulidharan Trophy. Fuck me. Let's finish
Moving
this
on.
off.
Yeah, let's finish the team of the tournament because
Do we have the same number 11, Jason Behrendorff?
Has to be Behrendorff.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Leading wicket taker.
Yeah.
Who else are you going to put?
Yeah.
Once again, Behrendorff consistently doing this at a top level in the Big Bash. Consistently did it for Australia in the one-day international squad.
Yeah.
I love Behrendorff.
Yeah, no,
love this guy.
He's great. He's a when I hope the Big Bash goes forever. But like, if you're looking at the best 11 of the first 25 years, someone like Behrendorff, he's going to
in
be.
that team.
He's opening the bowling, I reckon. So
100%.
Yeah, BBL 14. Obviously, it wraps up tonight. We're Hobart fans. We've never lifted the
Go
trophy.
the Canes.
We want to lift the trophy.
Yeah.
I'm not happy to lose to the Thunder, by the way. Just
lose to a Sydney team, not the
David
worst.
Warner's never going to shut up.
Yeah.
But it was good to see him score a few runs, and obviously Constas broke onto the scene, and there was a lot to like about the Thunder this year. Tom Andrews, by the way,
What a gun!
he just looks like the most disinterested person I've ever seen.
But in the three games he was playing, he was actually decent.
He barely, you see like what's his name? What's the little Afghani that Hobart got? He hops like a bunny coming into bowl. And then there's some spinners that absolutely pelt down the wicket.
Ahmed.
Yeah.
The little bunny. I missed.
And then Tom Andrews, he
flipper.
barely walks when he's bowling.
He dawdles to the crease. He fucking dawdles. But he's that left arm orthodox. I'm a slut for a left arm orthodox. Xavier Doherty, Kuhneman.
Yeah.
Throw in your fucking Tom.
Tom Andrews. He's
you
bit of
get my salute.
bit of a cult player for us.
I love him.
Me and my family, who we watch it religiously. We were all. There's no Thunder fans in the family, by the way, but we were all cheering for Tom Andrews.
Yeah.
He was very funny, and not a handy batter either, isn't he?
Yeah, he got that. I think he got like
39, but he hit a few sixes. He hit some big ones, and his little cameo at the end against Melbourne. I think that I don't remember 20 or 30 they fell short by, but Andrews.
Shout out to the little sandwich as well, Tanvir the sandwich, not a handy little leg spinner. I think he's going to be massive tonight, unless if he's going up against if Mitch Owen stays, if he's in the first 7 overs, I think there's going to be a lot of pain.
If Mitch Owen is still in at the 7 over mark, he's already on 100.
Call it.
And
give the trophy.
Popping
right now.
the champagne.
Oh yeah, we gotta sell. If Hobart do win, there's a celebration in order.
As a Hobart fan, the one thing that this season was almost perfect, but if I could have changed one thing, it would have been that we got Darcy Short back.
100%.
He batted at 3. He opened. He batted at 7. He took a few wickets. He hit some runs. We needed just that. Not that we didn't have a bad season, but
it could have been more. A little bit.
But not just that. I think it's like if you look at the history of the Big Bash, if the Sydney Sixers won their first Big Bash, who has to be there? Your Sean Abbotts, your Ben Dorshes's, your Moses Enriquez, Josh Philippes, the guys that have been there forever. Even though second season in Adelaide, Darcy Short, him and Chris Lynn rose to popularity at the same time.
Yep.
And I just think it would have been cool to get him back, be a handy middle order bat, someone that, Nickel Chaudhary did fantastic this year. But if we were able to have Darcy Short at 3,
it changes everything.
Or I mean,
I remember if you remember BBL 8-9 Short, easily the best form I've ever seen him in. I miss those days were fantastic. Had Ben McDermott, Wade, Short. Fuck. It sucks being a Hobart fan back in that period because we would achieve so much in the regular season and we get bundled out. I remember in I think it was BBL 8, finish first, lose one game that year. And we lose to the Stars when it was the 1v4 format. It's just fuck that shit.
My dream Hobart 11 for next year, Mitch Owen. I want to put Caleb Jewell in there.
Julie he had one good game.
But I can't. I have to put, Julie, Matthew Wade Short to open. No.
Shorty and Owen.
Owen and Wade to open.
And Shorty at 3.
Short at 3. McDermott at 4.
Keep Chowdhury.
Chaudhary at 5.
Yep.
David 6.
Ellis
Jordan 7. Ellis 8. Meredith 9. And then 10, 11, Bilbo, Stanlake.
Paddy Dooley.
Dooley!
Or Skatzoglu, the Scat Man.
I like Hatzoglu. But yeah, maybe I will put Jewell. Actually, no, fuck it. Jewell at 2, Wade 3, McDermott 4.
Shift everyone down.
Nickeldick 5, David 6, Darcy 7, Jordan 8. The Jamaican sensation, Chris Jordan, man. He's earnest.
He's a mercenary. He's played for 5 teams and he's always been a gun. Has he ever won a Big Bash title?
I think so. He played with Perth.
They had to, maybe BBL 11 or something.
And
wow, he deserves
CJ, yeah, he's a great player. We've forgiven him for getting obliterated by James Faulkner all those years ago. You remember when Faulkner did that game?
Yes. Oh, one of the best games I've ever seen.
I didn't realise Chris Jordan was one of the bowlers that he got absolutely...
Tonked him. That was like when Chris Jordan was he was in his prime. This was like 2013 Chris Jordan.
So, no,
Jesus.
it's... I just... Darcy shot back in the purple, the cane chain.
A lot of Poms got fucked that day, so... I agree.
It would have been good to see, but no, BBL 14's been sensational.
I was going to ask you one more thing.
Yeah.
If you were going to, if you're going to import someone, an international, apart from Jordan to be in that team, are you taking out Hope and replacing him? Who are you bringing in?
If it's got to be someone from the West Indies, Nicholas Purin.
I was thinking Purin,
Yeah.
or I was thinking Andre Russell.
Dre Russ,
Dre
yeah.
Russ. He's played in the Big Bash before.
I think he's a bit behind it.
He's maybe a bit old, but
if it could be anyone,
Oh,
Heinrich
right
Klaassen, he's unreal.
Klaassen. You don't see many Safis.
No, because their tournament's been played at the same time. Joe Root's playing in their tournament, which I found interesting.
Yeah, he is. Did you see the not out the other day? Oh, that was unbelievable. If anyone else out there saw it, so in that league, Root hits it out. Guy catches it, both hands on the boundary. He runs in, puts it in one hand, and then it slips out. After like 2 seconds of holding it, they didn't give Root out. They said he didn't have complete control, which is something really fucks me off.
It wouldn't be like South Africa to be cut up now, would it? They got a history of that.
Glass houses. Mr. Pepsi Jesus.
No, fuck them.
Can't forget Cape Town.
They got a history of being scape cheaters.
Nothing happened in Cape Town in 2018. Nothing. Anyway, yeah. That's a great team. I can't wait. I know the finals on tonight, we have to wait another fucking 10 months for this Big Bash to start again.
Well, we do, but between then and this is something that we are going to cover
throughout.
Over,
even during the winter season.
So we got look at all the cricket we've got on over the next 5 months, right?
Yeah.
So we've got the Big Bash final tonight. We've got Australia playing the Warren Murugan Trophy against Sri Lanka. Mm-hmm. We then have the Champions Trophy.
Yeah,
when
that's
the Champions,
a fab, isn't it?
when the Champions Trophy's done, we've got the IPL.
Yeah.
And then
World
when the
Test
IPL's
Championship.
done, we've got the World Test Championships against South Africa. Now,
That's going to be fantastic.
July through October, it's going to be all about rugby league, man.
Yep.
So we've got the Ashes coming at the end of the year as well. Big Bash again. We will be touching on some historical things, best Test 11s and some classic Test matches and some
People
Test
love
history
that.
and
They
stuff.
like it, yeah.
But yeah, it's going to be the BBL 15 before you know it. So
So keen. I'm so keen to dig into this this year when it comes to sports because we have so much to deliver as men, as in sport enthusiasts. I think there's a lot to cover this year, and I for one could not wait for that to start. So. Thank you very much for everyone tuning in today. You've been fantastic, and you've been a trooper for sitting through 52 minutes of a lot of glazing, Hobart glazing that is warranted. But yeah, if you're out there and you have any thoughts or any suggestions, just send us a DM on Instagram at the Australian Sporting Cartel. We are also on TikTok and YouTube where we post video essays as well. So we'll be getting back into that in the 2025 season. Is there anything else you want to add there, Mr. Pepsi Jesus?
No, mate. Great catching up. Great BBL tournament. Go the Canes.
Go the Canes. Bring it on. Can't wait.
We'll hopefully have something to celebrate next recording.
It's going to be a great game. Anyway, I'll catch you all later. Thank you all, everyone. See you next time. Bye.